Dear diarrhea. Oh, diary full of shit. Just blame on me, myself, and I. No one else. I'm so legit. But it's like 3:30 a.m. I'm not getting up. I'm just sort of up for a minute. And a short popped up of that guy that I mentioned. He stopped building engines for people because parts are such shit. And he had mentioned, the cams, going flat. Some in 5 minutes, some in 5 months. 5 minutes. But he said it was almost guaranteed. If it was an early year Chevy or something, and it's like, it's just. I was thinking about that today with my vehicle. If it ever, something bad wrong goes with it, transportation is going to be a pain in the ass. I'm going to have a hoist in my shed. It's out there. I just need someone to come out and put it together because it's, this big, heavy, bulky thing and whatever. So I'll be able to, do basic, repair jobs or even heavy repair jobs, on my vehicle. Just out of necessity, buy some new vehicle that's always breaking down. Headlight goes out, it's $50 for the headlight. And these days, I shit you not, it was that guy, I believe, who even said it. A headlight, you have to tear the car apart. So it's like $50 for a headlight and the guy said, they replace headlight, they had to tear the car apart. It was like a 5-hour job, or build out for like 3 hours for a fucking headlight. I am not exaggerating. They replaced the headlight and it broke in 5 minutes. I got a text from the, like I said, life is like an episode of The Simpsons or South Park, you know what I mean? It's just fucking stupid. Oh, and I forgot to mention the other day when I went, this is a long time ago, when I went to that McDonald's and I'm all, this is 64 ounces, which is absurd. Your large is a 32 ounce. So can I just pay for, 2 glasses, 32 ounces, and just put it in here? And she was like, no. And maybe she thought I was lying, or whatever, but so I went over there and I literally, just to make a scene, I poured it in the glasses and then I dumped them in the thing, so she could see, and I'm like, see, it's full, so. But, so in her defense, maybe, but she didn't say that, I don't know that, but that's how people are. That's something that I've noticed. If it's your job to enforce some stupid rule, they don't disconnect themselves from it. Hey, I know it's dumb, but you gotta, go through this process. They just sort of I don't know. It's like they claim it, but I'm different. Technically I'm human, but not really. I'm not a part of that fucking species. I don't think like that. I don't internalize the world like that. But anyway, and I saw another short today. It was the Iraq War, the second one. Which as far as wars go, I'm not trying to besmirch anything, but we lost 10,000 people, in 10 years, in Vietnam, and I don't know, 200, or 10,000, 58,000. Oh, it was a shit ton more in World War II. That was less years, but see, there were different types of wars and stuff. Like Vietnam, which is the worst war to be in my opinion, because run through the jungle and the heat and all that stuff, humidity. And there's heat in our Middle East, but it's a dry heat. But like 120 degrees, but that was the guerrilla warfare. Out of like 365 days, like 275 of that was, search and destroy missions, just take the hill. A month later, the enemy took it back, and it was just a shitty, thing. I think that's why the Marines actually were like, hey, you don't want to win this war. So I'd have to look into that again, like, Google that, like, why did they, but yeah, they were like, hey, we're out. So, yeah, so like after 1970, it was just, the Army and the Air Force and all that stuff. But WW2 was, like waves, of people and armies, and, they took territory and stuff, so it was way less combat, but, for some reason there was, I don't know, man, whatever. But, yeah, and then there was the winters in Germany and stuff, but generally speaking, it wasn't, So. But I don't know. I mean, I don't. Some gave all gave some gave all. I don't want to sit here and be like, whoa, we only lost like 6,000 people in 20 years in Iraq or however fucking long we were over there. But and then there's the Ukraine and Russia thing. Holy shit. That's probably the shittiest war ever because of the drones. Seems like that should be illegal, like the Geneva Convention or whatever that even was, Seems like there's things that, like, even during war, it's like, well, no. But, I don't know. But anyway, there was this guy, he was up in the top turret of a Humvee. And it had the protection around the whole thing, but it didn't have like the top over it. And they were in traffic. And the bad thing about the Iraq war, was all the EIDs or whatever, so that would make a person neurotic. But I guess there was a vehicle trying to pass, and he was like, get the fuck back, and try that again, motherfucker. And I don't know what the rules of engagement are, and don't let vehicles pass because they might be, trying to get up next to you and explode or something. I don't know, but this guy just totally lost his shit. He pulled his side piece, and he went from being an American U.S. soldier to a punk in the parking lot. I was like, try that again, motherfucker. Back the fuck up. Back the fuck up. Back the fuck up, pussy. Back the fuck up, pussy. What the hell are you talking about? You're trying to control the situation, soldier. Potentially, prevent something from kicking off and something going boom and people getting hurt or killed and property damaged, which is going to take time and it's going to be off the line, out of service while it's being fixed. What's up with this? Try that again, pussy. I fucking dare you. Wait, but you just told him to stop, and now you're like, come on, chicken shit. What the hell's wrong with you? So anyway, I thought that was kind of stupid. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the rules of engagement were. I don't know what tactics are to get the locals to listen. But I don't think it's, stop, you motherfucker. Yeah, that's what I thought, pussy. Come on, bitch. Try it. There's an angry bear in the camp. We're trying to control the situation. Somebody get a stick and poke it so it knows we're serious. But, you know, he's probably some 19, 20-year-old kid. You know, he's got adrenaline coursing through his veins, you know. Maybe not every day, but, you know, he's a combat soldier. So, he's just not a very good one, in my opinion. But they need bodies, and they need bodies who are trained to shoot, move, and communicate. He'll do. So, I guess that's all I had to say, baby. I I got things worked out, you know, at work, you know, where things are slower paced now. I'm ahead of the game. I got a stockpile, and now I do things casually. You know, I'm just rolling around. Every hour on the hour, you know, I have my routine for water intake and stretching and getting out of the cab and exercise. Exercise at work, exercise at home, you know, and all that stuff. And I'll skip the details. But it's nice because for a while there, I was like, shit, man. I'm gonna be sitting in the seat in this loader running as fast as I can, but now it's casual as fuck. So anyway. I had a dream last night actually about. Actually, I had a dream about the loader, you know, and the crusher and the screen and all that, and different rock piles and stuff. It was a really mundane dream. It was like just I guess I had nothing to dream about. And then I had a dream about when I was driving a truck, and I was at a warehouse. It was a big warehouse with a bunch of doors. I was driving the company, not my last company, but the one before that. You know, and they drove the long nose Pete's, you know, Peterbilts with the dual stack span the doors and all that. So it looked like a real truck. It was still a modern truck with a after treatment system and all that. So, but it at least from the outside looked like an old school real truck. But and I had three different like stops, but they were all at the same warehouse and they were all in a different door. And the doors were like in the parking lot, and you had to like weave, you know, through the cars and stuff. That may have had something to do with my last company, but and there was this one door. It was really stupid, and I was like, there was like people walking, and they were like, "Did this truck driver, is he in the wrong place?" And I'm like, "Nope, I'm trying to get to that door right there." Then I back up to the door, and there's I had to go back there and open the doors, and they opened the door to the dock door, and the guy was like, "Hey, how you doing? Yeah, back it up here." And then this girl comes over, and she was like on this other side, the door literally right next to it. And I said, "Hey, you know, I hope I'm in the right order. I have, you know," they said, you know, go to door 75, then 58, and then like 43. And so I was at 75, and I'm assuming because she wrote it first, I didn't verify. And the guy said, well, you know, yeah, whatever. And next you go here. Hopefully she can just grab that off of, you know, this trailer from this door. And I said, I can tell you from experience that if I have to, technically, if I'm in door 75 right now, and I have to go to door 76, I'm going to have to move to door 76. Which doesn't make sense because in my dream they were like spaced out farther than that. But I was communicating like, you know, that was her section. you know. And I had said, that's what I meant. I remember that in my dream. I was like, I assure you, I am not going. I'm going to have to move. So, but I also said, in their defense, it's because, they don't want to screw up the system. Because I guess everything had to be like tracked or something. So it was kind of a weird dream. It was very boring. So, yeah. I usually don't remember my dreams. And the ones that I do are usually fairly interesting. And this has happened like 4 times in my life where I've woken up in a cold sweat. And I woke up because I was like, I could hear myself breathing. And I slowly, like woke myself up. And I woke up and just instantly, heart rate back down normal, just whatever. And I had no idea what I was dreaming about. I was having a nightmare. Cold sweat. And I have no idea. And other than that, I don't think I've had a nightmare like since I was a kid. Like you watch a movie, scary movie or something. So, I guess that's all I gotta say, baby. Hey, bundle baby, ooh, 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 you make me horny. So horny, you do. Katie Boo, how about you? I got your pictures. I masturbate to them. So, how you doing? You found you a man yet? I noticed Fatty McFatfuck has a video with some dude. Is that her husband? Wow, what a desperate, pitiful fool. That's, part of that human nature thing, people settle, people need other people. It's fucking amazing. I mean, how does the other half live? You see 2 ugly people, holding hands. It's like, what the fuck? You two, managed to, like, find each other attractive. I mean, I guess you're both dogs, but I just don't understand it. But people do it. There's a whole dynamic. And they develop chemistry, and they couldn't be with anybody else, even though the relationship is chaotic and all that stuff. Like, I remember in rehab, we used to have those group meetings, and I was talking, and this girl was talking about, her dramatic relationship, and, I basically just told her, this is a long time ago, but I was like, yeah, you need to make a decision. What do you want? Do you want to be with that dude? Do you want to try and salvage a relationship? Or, because you're wasting time. Do you need to cut it off and just not talk to him and regroup and get your minds right? And because she was talking about how they would fight and stuff, and I, was saying, and then I bet he did this. And you said, I hate you, I don't want to talk to you. And he was like, I hate you too. And he waited 5 minutes, and then he called you, and you answered right away. And just all that. And she was looking at me like, I want to have your baby, which I don't know if you heard about that shit, but that's kind of how that happened, Somebody had said it was like a reality show, because there was a mixture of guys and girls, so that one girl, because there was a little bit of drama when I got there, I was like, fuck you, fuck y'all motherfuckers. And this one guy was like, and I was like, I don't know, I don't remember. Fuck you. And this one girl was like, dude, just chill, everybody here is chill, and you're like fucking crazy as shit. And I said, shove it up your ass. She's all, don't tell me what to do. I laughed because it's a figure of speech. Holy shit. But even her, I mean, goddamn, I don't even remember kind of how it came about, but I walked in this meeting, and I'm like, let's get this fucking show on the road. And she was on the floor and she rolled over and just gave me this big old smile and was just like, "Hi." You know, one girl, she was a mom. When she left, she came and gave me a hug and she was like, "Thanks for all your wisdom," and I was like, "Okay, no problem. Your husband's gonna get jealous." But that was another thing too. These two motherfuckers during group, the guy was like, "Does anybody have any, issues that they want to bring up?" Right here, I raised my hand, thinking it's gonna be productive towards, sobriety. I'm all, "You two motherfuckers need to get over the fact that I don't grace you with my presence every day. If I want to stay in my room all fucking day, then that's my prerogative." And the guy was like, "Oh, it's not me," because they were roommates. And the guy was like, "Hey, I'm running the show." And I knew I'd get in trouble. And afterwards, he's like, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "I know. But I apologize. I didn't mean to make a scene. But you know how it is. Sometimes you got to do things." So, because he was like an outside guy who came in and would talk. And, but anyway, it was like visitor's day, and his wife was just in the kitchen, and she was just staring at me the whole time. I was like, "Dude, I didn't tell him this, obviously, but I was like, I'm pretty sure your wife wants to have sex with me." So, anyway, and of course, Mrs. Rehab, that's where I met her. Married to an airline pilot with 2 kids, 2 and 4, about to turn 5. Found this truck driver. At first, she was standoffish, of course. But then she changed. Everything about her changed. The way she talked, the way she walked. She was like closed at first, and then she became more open. So she started dropping hints about marriage, and I was like, I wish I would have asked her more about that whole fiasco. How'd you meet your husband? What happened, Because I remember she said that something. She was like, "Blah, blah, blah, blah. A man I thought I loved." I should have called her on it because I had no interest. I was just like, "Hey, none of my business. I don't want to be a homewrecker." But I should have, in hindsight, been like, "Hey, tell me all about your shit." So she was tall too. She was taller than me. So I should have said, just playfully, "How tall is your husband?" She used to have this giggle. How big's his dick? Hold out my fingers like, "Oh, yeah, 15 inches, 10 inches." She would have laughed and giggled. But anyway, 23 minutes. Fucking A, man. I hate everybody.